Nick speaking, and welcome to this live stream. Another one, this time on a Monday night. And we are doing some hobby and hanging out. Welcome everyone. I hope you had a good day. It's incredibly warm today. I've got my fan on, so excuse the noise if there's any extra noise. And I've got the windows open because, yeah, it is hot. Right, let me get to my view that I normally go onto. I'll have a look, see who is in the chat. Okay, we have CM Wargames, Richard. Hello, Richard. The battle report, of course, up today, where I played my last game of 9th edition, Necrons versus Orcs, and that was a fun game, even though it was cut quite short. Really enjoyed myself. Excuse me. Dry throat already, not even started talking. Hopefully the sound is okay. If you could let me know if it is, that would be fantastic. We have 40k Punk. Hello there. He says, Necrons. Howdy, y'all. Howdy. How are you doing? Thanks for all of the questions. I have them pinned up here. I'm going to do some questions, answer your questions during the stream, and of course I'm going to be painting, and I'm currently painting my Annihilation Barges. If this is the first stream that you've joined in on this painting session, I'm currently painting the green on these guns. Done one coat and we're getting ready to do the next coats. So I've got my wet pellets here, going to get cracking because I really want to get these painted ideally by Thursday, which is when my fiance comes back. Actually, she's flying back today, but she's going to stay at her mum's house in London and then come back on Thursday because her birthday is Friday, and then we've got a birthday party on the Saturday. And I did actually mess up a little. Hello Jar, nice to see you. I did mess up a little because obviously on Thursday we're having the Xenos index cards released, and I had a little plan that when my fiance comes back, she's coming back with the whole of the family, so basically the house is going to be full, so I'm going to have no time to make videos. So I thought, well, what I could do, because I'm off on Fridays, is I could go to my mum's house and record videos, thinking that her birthday was on the Saturday because the Saturday is when the party is, but actually her actual birthday is on the Friday, so I don't think I'm going to get away with not being here. So effectively I don't think I'm going to have any time to make videos about the index release. It's annoying because I've had a whole week to myself. I could have made as many videos as I wanted to if the index cards had come out, but basically nothing from Games Workshop for Necrons, and then they come out on the time where I have an absolute house full and I'm not going to have time to make them. It's highly annoying, but it is what it is. But hopefully the live streams have compensated for that, and of course I will be making videos on it, so they'll just be a bit delayed, that's all. I've been building Doomstalkers and Reanimators myself tonight. Hope they're better in new edition. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Right, let's get my light on. I'm definitely going to get some painting done, so here we go. So of course I've been working today. Monday, the busiest day for me for work, and after work I had to go shopping as well, so that's why I went live at 9 rather than 8:30 like I have the other days. So I've got this paint which is in the wet palette, which is quite watery, so I might just start with some fresh paint, I think. Yeah, I'm going to start with some fresh. It looks like there's a lot there, but last night I did put some water in it right at the end, and it's made it quite watery. Obviously I want it a bit watery, but This colour, mute green, is a particularly watery colour anyway, without added water. I will add a little bit because, like I said, I do want it a bit watery, but just a drop. Okay, now I think I might need a slightly bigger brush for this section. Have you seen the new Death Leaper model? I have, and it looks awesome. At least it looks awesome from the front. Not sure about the back. From the picture that I saw, it almost looks like he's got like a cloak. I wasn't quite guessing the back, but the front of it looked really cool, really nice. So I've got some questions from my community post to answer, but to be fair, not that many. There's probably about maybe 20 questions, no, not even that. So what I've done is I've printed out 100 questions to ask your friends. So yeah, I needed something to talk about tonight because I've been live so many times. I'm sort of running out of stuff to talk about, so I thought I'd just talk rubbish, answer some questions. So there you go. The flesh cape is weird. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, here we go then. Let's get painting. Lay down a bit of paint and then we'll go to the first question in a second. There's a few more people join the stream because sometimes it takes up to like 10 minutes for people to get their notifications and then join. Need to make sure I get the right paint. I'm going to rotate this, I think. There we go. So I was watching a stream by Kirioth TV earlier today. Yes, I was at work, but I just had it on in the background. I have invited him to my 40k tournament. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it or not, but I thought that'd be cool to have him there. It's a cool dude. He gave me a shout out. I can't remember what it was. I think it was when I was just about to hit 20k, I think it was. He did a shout out without me asking, or no contact at all. He just did it off his own back, which was really nice. It's going to take quite a few layers of this green to build up the colour. But that is basically what I'm going to be doing tonight. My plan, hopefully, is to finish the green tonight. Tomorrow I won't be going live because I'm at snooker, work and then snooker. And then Wednesday I've got the opticians in the morning. I then need to get the house ready for the imminent return. And then probably go live and finish. But the plan is to finish these on Wednesday. We'll see if that happens or not. Let's see how we get on with this green, because there is quite a bit of work to do. And not only have I got to do the green, I've then got to go over and tidy it all up with the black paint. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to finish, but I should have a good chunk of it done. I mean, I don't have to finish it by the time she gets back, but it's always good to have, a bit of a goal, really. But as long as I'm finished by 10th edition, that's fine. Okay, so let's have a look at the first question. The first question is from 40k Punk, who is in the stream. Thanks for the question. I need some coffee. Alright, 40k Punk says, what's the #1 thing you'd love to see them do next with Necron lore? My personal thing would be a Silent King book where we get to see more about what he's up to. It's a very good question. We're starting with a lore question, which is my weakest thing about the hobby, mainly because it's my least interest about the hobby. But the lore is not really my bag. And to be totally honest with you, I still like the old Necron lore the best. That's what my Necron army was built around. I did read all of the fluff in that codex, the 3rd edition codex. I've attempted to read the fluff in the rewrite, but I haven't really done it, to be honest, because in my mind it's all about that old fluff. So I've struggled really with the new lore, but it's not really an issue because, as I said, I'm not massive on the lore. Now, I've heard that the novels, I think there's 3 Necron novels, if I'm correct in saying that, but I've heard the novels are really good, and I think I should read them / listen to them, because that might be quite good to do. I do like your idea of knowing more about the Silent King, because obviously he is still shrouded in mystery, and whilst he came back, it sounds like there could be some good stories there that they can sort of draw upon for future things. So I think the answer is, I haven't actually got an answer, but I do like your idea. Thank you for the question, appreciate that. I used to do a Q&A on the channel every month. I used to do one about, just like ask me anything basically, and then then I obviously moved the channel more to Necrons, so then I started to do just Necron Q&As. But they weren't that popular. The long and short is that they weren't that popular. So I dropped that video series, and I thought I'd have a go at doing it in the live stream maybe instead, especially as I said earlier, the topics to talk about are dwindling down the more I go live. So yeah, I thought the Q&A would be fun. I'm going to do these 2 bits and then we'll look at the next question. So I watched an episode of Star Trek Voyager with our dinner. Before I came on, we had pasta tonight. Spinach and ricotta with cheese sauce and some garlic bread. Okay. The books are great. There's a quite 4th book that's going under the radar. Kasrikin has some good Necron stuff in it. One for all you fellow overlords out there. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, let's go to the next question, which is from Malignus the Undying King. I'm not sure if he's in the house at the moment, but I'm going to answer your question because it's next on the list. We have 9 people watching. Thank you everyone who has tuned in. If you haven't done so yet, then please press the like, because that really helps me. We've got 6 likes so far. The more the better. Okay, so his question is, if you could design the next Necron miniature and help at developing the lore for it, what would it be? Example, flensing ones, immortals that have fallen to the flare virus and are far more potent, capable of rapid deployment and unstoppable onslaught. A great question. Thank you very much. And I read this question before I went to work, so I actually thought about this whilst I was walking to work, and I've actually come up with three answers for this. Yeah. Now, not so much about the lore for my new units, but some ideas for them, and potentially some sort of rule concepts for them. So let's talk about them. So the first one, I got thinking about Necrons and thinking about like how they might develop over time, and then thinking about how like we as a race are developing with our technology. And the big thing at the moment, of course, is AI. I mean, it's huge and it's rapidly developing. I've got like a loose hair at the front of this brush, which is a bit annoying. Just try and get it. So I was thinking of an AI unit for the Necrons. And I was mapping out some ideas and quickly changed from a unit to almost like an upgrade. A bit like a plasma site. So you could buy an AI, whatever you want to call it, AI, let's say scarab. So you could buy an AI scarab for a unit. It's going to cost you some points, like, I don't know, let's say 20 points for example. And then you join that AI to your unit and it enhances your unit. Now, first of all, I came up with like 3 enhancements, a bit like Illuminor does. But then I thought it would be really fun if these enhancements were maybe a bit random, because you wouldn't want them to be too powerful. So they'd be random, and you'll have D6 options. So you roll a dice, either once and it lasts the whole game, or you do it each and every turn. So at the beginning of the turn you roll a dice. I think probably would have to be for the whole game, because it would just make it easier. And of course each number is going to be a different thing. So you'd have like +1 to weapon skill, +1 to ballistic skill, +1 to strength, +1 to toughness, +1 to save, +1 to AP, or you know, whatever. And they'd basically enhance your units. +1 to battle shock. So that was one idea that I had. An AI drone or an AI scarab that can join your units. Probably have to be, you know, only certain units that can take them. So that was option 1. I've got 3 units which I came up with. What do you think of that one? Let me know in the chat. At the moment I am literally just laying down the base colour. As I said, with these, especially these massive bits of green, it will take several coats to get them nice. Necrons! Hello Linus. How you doing? Right, so my second unit, which I was thinking would be pretty cool to add to the Necron army. Now, whilst my first choice was an AI unit, like a more maybe futuristic unit, my next unit is going to be going right back to maybe where Necrons were originally developed in design, the T-800 from Terminator. So I was thinking it would be pretty cool to have like a T-1000 unit. So this would be a unit which basically can morph. And I was thinking it would be pretty cool if it had maybe like 3 gun profiles and 3 close combat profiles, and you can choose which one you want each time you shoot, so you can like basically like morph your arms into different weapons and stuff. So you might have like an anti-tank option, an anti-ord option, and like a anti like mid-range elite type option for both the guns and the assault phase. Maybe there'd be like immortal sort of type units, potentially troops would be pretty cool. I'm not quite sure how the model would be, but I thought that would make a really cool unit, and it would be like the next step in Necrons, like the next step in Terminators. Yes, love the T1000 idea. Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was a really cool idea. However, I had another idea as well, which I'm going to talk about. So yeah, after I came up with the T1000 idea, I then got thinking about the new Terminator film. Is it Dark Fate? Where you've got that Terminator that can split into 2. Basically the liquid metal sort of half comes off, and basically there's 2 of them. So I thought, how about having a unit which can do that, a bit like the old Chaos units used to do, where they used to sort of spawn demons. So you'd have like, so I don't know, say like an immortal unit, and they'd be a bit tougher when they're together, and then when they split, the immortal units would get weaker. So effectively, let's say they're toughness 6 when they're joined, and then you can split them off, so you have to have a second set of miniatures. So it's a good one for Games Workshop because they can sell 2 sets of miniatures. You'd have a second set of miniatures that can say split off within 6 inches. I think my vision would be that the original unit would be a shooting unit, so probably quite similar to Immortals, and the second unit that splits off will be a close combat unit with like knives and stuff for their arms, like liquid metal like unit. And then once you split off, say the toughness might go from 6 down to 4, and then they split off, and maybe the original unit would be troops, but the splintered unit wouldn't be troops. Something like that I thought would be pretty cool. So what do you think of that? I came up with 3 units on that one question, and I like them all. I like them all. I think the AI to the drone thing could be quite good and make the army maybe a bit more fun, give it a bit more welly. And I think the T1000 type units would just be really cool to see. Not sure about fluff wise, but you know, I'm sure we can come up with some fluff to make it work. I really hope death marks are getting a real thing in 10th. I like their idea of being absolute character slayers. I hope so, especially with, you know, characters being so big now. It wouldn't surprise me if death marks were good. But of course, we have seen the data sheet for Imitate the Stormlord already, and I had a question about that which came in after I printed this. So I don't know who asked the question, but someone asked, have I seen the Imitate the Stormlord data sheet? And yes, I have. I talked about it last night, actually, in the last night's live stream, but I've seen it, and yeah, it's a bit disappointing, really, to be fair. And he can't even buff his own units, can he? So even if he's leading a unit, he can't really do much to them. The data sheet was a bit blurry, but I could just about read it. Or it could have just been my bad eyes. Looking good. Why is it disappointing? Didn't see its data sheet. He's lost an inch of movement. He's lost a wound. He still has ballistic skill, weapon skill of 2 with a 2+ save and a 4+ invulnerable save. His lightning strikes have been changed, so now it pops off basically, and any unit within 12 inches gets hit with lightning strikes. So you have to get in close and personal, with not an amazing stat line for close combat. If you're that close, you're probably going to die the next turn. And it is a once use only still. Amatec in the old days, he used to be able to do lightning strikes every turn, beginning of every turn. And he doesn't buff the unit that he leads. And obviously we don't know how many points, but to make him playable, he's going to have to be pretty cheap. Okay, next question is from Timothy Lyons. He says, would you rather see Necron characters go from Finecast to plastic, or would you rather have new characters? I would definitely like to see, so I assume the choice is that the Finecast miniatures disappear and then we get new characters in plastic, or do we keep the Finecast characters and then we just get more characters? Whilst I would love more characters, I don't think we need more characters. I think we need to sort out the characters that we've got to make them more playable. So the answer definitely is going to be plastic models of the Finecast miniatures that we've got, and I think that is the way that Games Workshop is going to go, because we already know that they are basically getting rid of Finecast. So yeah, we're going to get plastic models. Whether it will be this release or another release in the future, who knows? But I think that's going to happen. That's the next step. It's interesting there's been no rumours on any of the new sort of releases, models. Of course we had the Games Workshop post of the rumour mill. I made that little short video on that. That definitely looks like either a Catan or a character. It's probably going to be a character, I would imagine. Probably Trazyn the Infinite. That's actually sad, especially since I planned on building my army a Sotek Dynasty one. Well, don't let GW stop you. Just try and change the fluff a bit for your army. I mean, obviously we know that the dynasties are pretty much gone. We're going to have flavoursome different rules. I can understand why. I mean, we never had dynasties before. Ultimately, I think it just makes it too complicated. There's too many rules for GW to keep on top of it. So that's probably why they've simplified it. Simplified, not simple. These first couple of coats of the green don't look very good at all. It's like, oh dear, this looks terrible, but the more you do, the better it looks, and then when you start neatening it up, it starts to take shape. But yeah, these first couple of coats, this is almost like a first coat still, because yesterday I only did the top, I didn't do the sides. So I'm currently doing the first coat of the side sections. A bit too much paint there. Okay, I've just realised you were saying about the Sotek dynasty, weren't you? You were talking about Imhotep the Stormlord, not the Finecast questions. Yeah, we don't give up hope on Imhotep. I mean, he's not he's not really bad, but I think what was disappointing is that he was pretty mediocre, not that much different to now really, but it just didn't it didn't feel like it was going to be, it didn't bode well for the rest of our units, you know. But don't forget that these are only index cards, you know. These are just to level the playing field for everyone to start playing 10th edition when it first comes out. The real stuff is going to be in the codex. Obviously we are getting a codex around September, so we are destined for a codex creep, but well, you never know. GW may have a plan to stop that happening. Hi from Bolivia. Hello there, how you doing? I always thought that metallic paints should not be used with a wet palette. Doesn't that dilute them too much? What is the advantage? Okay, yeah, I always use my palettes, wet palettes, full metallics, but I don't add any water to them. The advantage is that it just keeps them, stops them drying out effectively, keeps them wet, so they last longer. That's basically it. Sometimes, I mean, when I don't dilute them if I'm dry brushing, but if I'm painting layers of metallics, I will add either a retarder, again that just keeps them wet for longer, or just water, and that will just thin them down, and do several coats just to build up the layer. But the main advantage, of course, is so to get nice thin coats. Right, I have these horrible Gauss guns to do, but I think I'm going to continue working on the Tesla for now and just sort of gradually build that up, because I've got this bigger paintbrush and these need the bigger paintbrush, and they need more coats than that Gauss gun. That Gauss gun probably 3 coats. I've done one already. So let's do some more coats on these guns here. See if we can get this green starting to look a bit more like it should do. Now I'm going to get my original gun out, because this is what I'm trying to duplicate. Just checking how far I go down. Right. I'll just do this side here and we'll hop on to the next question. My last day at work tomorrow on my 6-day working stint. The last day I had off was Wednesday last week. I am looking forward to that, but as I said, I've got opticians in the morning. We've got to take Necron go to school, opticians, and house tidying and then hopefully eventually some hobby. I always think the house tidying is going to take me for forever, but the truth is it's not that messy, because I've been at work most of the time that my fiance has been away, and when I'm at home, apart from cooking dinner, I've been painting, so it's not that messy really. It probably won't take that long. As long as she doesn't make a surprise return tomorrow, I'll be alright. I have to go. Have fun, everyone. Goodbye, Jar. Thanks for popping in. Really appreciate it. Okay, so the next question is from Lieutenant Delta, or Lieutenant Delta. What are your predictions of how our faction will play stroke win in 10th edition, given what we know about them so far? My predictions, and I really hope I'm right, is we are going to be hard to kill. Now this could be just more wishful thinking than anything, but I'm hoping we're going to be hard to kill. Obviously we know what the RP rules are, and I'm hoping we're going to get quite a bit of boosting to that with various characters and units that we've got, like the Reanimator and the Ghost Arcs, etc. So yeah, hard to hit, but not hard to hit, hard to kill, and I'm hoping our guns are going to get a bit more specialised, especially at killing vehicles or hurting vehicles like we used to be. I'm hoping we basically go back to like we used to be in 3rd edition, where we used to be hard to kill and horrible weapons. Oh, just like the fluff. Obviously 9th edition Necrons were all about close combat, and I think the reason that happened was because, well, obviously they introduced a new unit, but 9th edition was a close combat game. There's no doubt about it. Hopefully 10th edition will have a good mixture of close combat and shooting, because that's what you want, isn't it? You don't want to line up your models and just be shot off the table with a gun line, but also you don't want to be a gun line army, just stand there and get assaulted and have no hope. You want a good mixture. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm not predicting that, but that's what I'm hoping for. Thank you for the question. This green is starting to look a lot better now, which is good. Right, we now have a question from Mikey. Double E on the end, that's why I say it like that. Any guesses or wishes on what our new models will be when the Codex releases? So my prediction stroke guess is going to be Locust Destroyers. I believe we'll get them, and I believe it will be basically the Locust Heavy Destroyer kit with different gun option. Makes sense, easiest, cheapest way for them to do it. And I reckon we might have 1 or 2 characters change from fine cast to plastic. I also have very sneaky idea that we might have a new Catan. which I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. Rather than redoing the two Finecast ones into plastic, I've got a funny feeling they might just hit us from the sidelines with a new Catan, which would be cool, to be fair. I hope we don't get some rule that stops us taking multiple Catans. Obviously, in Arcs of Omen, they took you down to only 2 Catans max, whereas we could have 3 before that. But back in 5th edition, you could have way more Catans. Rest in peace, Tal. Oh, there are several new units coming. We don't know. They said that every army, when they get their codex, will get at least 1 new miniature. So I'm assuming that means that some armies will have 1 new miniature, some armies might have more. We got a lot of miniatures in the last release, so I probably wouldn't be surprised if we only get 1 miniature, and my guess would be it would just be one of the characters redone in plastic, a really cool character like Traz and the Infinite, and if I had to guess, that would be the character I would guess it would be. But yeah, if it's like a mini little release of miniatures, and because Finecaster plastic is a given, that's happening, and green rods have gone, that's a given, that's happening, that would mean that the Locust Destroyers need a new model. So yeah, we just have to see. What type of model troop do you think we are missing? It's a tough one because we've got so many, haven't we? We've got so many, but I think the answer which most people would probably come up with is an artillery unit. Because, yeah, we don't have an artillery unit. Something that we can shoot when we're not, we don't have line of sight. Quite a few armies have got artillery units these days, so why not Necrons? So yeah, I'd say an artillery unit of some description. I don't think so, they just give us the dragon. You could be right, it was only because of what they said in one of the Q&As at Warhammer Fest. Where someone asked something about the Catans. I can't remember what the question was, but the answer was, who said there were only 2 Catans? Which sort of, maybe there might be another Catan coming. You're probably right, and I think ideally a new Deceiver and a new Nightbringer in plastic would be the first thing, surely. I suppose they have to think about what would sell. That's the other side of the coin. Imagine, right? Imagine this. Well, not imagine it, I'm going to tell you. So, you're going to introduce a brand new unit in plastic, a new sculpt. Let's just take Necron Immortals, for example. You got a metal sculpt, and you're going to resculpt them in plastic. There's a huge Necron player base who already have all of those old metal miniatures. Now, a good majority of them will just buy the new plastic ones because they like to be up to date. But there's also a good majority, like myself, who like the old miniatures and maybe can't afford, or maybe don't want to invest in the new ones. How do you try to make them buy those miniatures? Easy. Let's have a new gun option. Tesla. So when Games Workshop introduced all these new models, updated the miniatures, they introduced a new gun option, Tesla, your Tesla Immortals. Not only did they introduce a new gun option, they made it the gun of choice. They made it the better gun. And personally, I believe that was done because they wanted to sell those miniatures. All of you guys that have Gauss Immortals, you may like your old miniatures, but you're going to want these new Tesla Immortals. These are much better. So remembering that, let's talk about Catans. If they redo the Nightbringer and they redo the Deceiver in plastic, a new sculpt, really cool sculpt, I'm sure they could do it. Bigger, cooler, nicer. You still have a good amount of people who've got those Catans. I mean, mine are both metal, could have had them so long, but there's going to be quite a few people out there that have them in fine cast. How many of those are you going to convert to buy this new cool miniature? I admit quite a few people probably would, but there would still be a good proportion that wouldn't. There'd be a good proportion of people that would buy the old miniature on eBay as people sell them off to buy the new miniature. So from a financial point of view, it would make much more sense if Games Workshop introduced a brand new Catan, like the Void Dragon, that no player has the miniature for, and the majority of people will want to buy. So from a business point of view, it would make more sense for them to introduce a brand new Catan than to redo the old Catans that they've already got. How about that for a little thought? I think we need something between Destroyer and Catacomb Command Barge. Yeah? It would be cool to have like a close combat type unit, but in like chariots. So I suppose you could say like close combat Tomb Blades, maybe. Somehow. Maybe they were riding like canoptic spiders or something. I mean, yeah, do we need them though? Do we need them? That's the question. At least artillery would be something totally new that we don't have. I'm just going to do a bit of painting. I'm interested to see if I get any comments and my little ramble about Games Workshop trying to make as much money as possible. It's so warm today. Oh, I felt like an idiot this morning. So I got up and looked out the window there, and it was dark, it was gloomy, it was overcast, it was hot and muggy. I looked out the window. Yesterday when I came home from work we had a thunderstorm, not a thunderstorm, we had a shower, a heavy shower, and I got soaking wet. So I thought, it's going to rain today, I'm going to take my umbrella. So I took my umbrella. I got about 10 minutes out of the apartment and the sun came out. It was so hot and I had to walk to work holding an umbrella. with my shorts and t-shirt on. I felt like an idiot. So on the way home, I put the umbrella in a bag and hid it. Any guesses on what the new updated model will be that's released with the codex? I'm hoping for Trazen Orokin 2-pack. We literally just talked about that. Yeah, I think Trazen the Infinite would definitely be one. If we're going to get just one miniature, I think that's the one we will get. New plastic version. But I don't know. But yeah, 2-pack would be cool. Yeah, hopefully none of our named characters get discontinued, because that also wouldn't surprise me. What about the return of pariahs? I think that's been done. You know, the unit written out of the fluff, Lichguard came in, and I believe they got rid of those pariah miniatures because they were moving to Finecast, and those would have been impossible to make in Finecast with their staffs, because obviously they used all the metal models, they used the actual mouldings, the metal mouldings, and redid them in Finecast using the same mouldings. That's why the initial release was terrible with all the air bubbles, and it's because they were using those old metal mouldings. The pariahs had the way the staff section went together. It was so small and tiny. It would have been impossible in Finecast. So that's why they came up with a new unit, and they made obviously Lichguard. They made this multi-dual kit, because at that time that's what they were doing. A lot of kits that were coming out with these dual kits, which was a good idea. I don't think they tend to do that so much now, from what I've seen. So I think they've had their day. And of course the fluff, totally rewritten. So I don't know, will we ever see them back? I mean, it would be great, but I'm sure they could write some new fluff. But I'm dubious about that, to be fair. I've got a feeling that the pariahs are done and dusted, but GW brought back squats, didn't they? So you never know. When they run out of ideas, they might bring them back. Come on then, to get this bit done. Come this side, and I've got that side to do. There we go. Right, next we've got a question from Wandering Celt, who says, can Necron Lords play tennis on their own by phasing in and out? It's a very good question, but judging from the Veil of Darkness being a once turn only, I would say no, they can't. But it would be pretty cool. He's also got a second question. Could Necrons use Mind Scarabs on Tyranids? Potentially. I mean, Mind Shackle Scarabs has been a thing in the past. Not just Tyranids, but anyone. So I think they could take control, a little bit like the Mummy. Those scarabs, come out and they take over the brain of your enemy. think I must have missed this side the first time I did this. So I'm back to the first layer on these bits. Why did I choose such a paint scheme? Oh yes, I was so annoyed they got rid of green rods. I decided to paint one of my new tester guns like they had big green rods in them. Right, so a drink. We have a question from Mr. Richard CM All Games himself. Ah, so thirsty. So Richard says, so would anti-vehicle 3+ on Gauss players been more thematic than lethal hits? That's a good question. Thank you, Richard. I don't think so. I think lethal hits goes right back to the original rules where on a 6 you automatically glanced vehicles, or I think it was on a 6 you automatically glanced a vehicle, on a 6 to hit, and on a 6 to wound you automatically wounded a monstrous creature. I think that was it. Very long time ago. So I think being able to auto hit on 6s to hit is about right, really. Yeah, I think it works. Right, let's go back to these ones. Thanks for the question, Richard. Not sure if you're still watching or not. I know you've been busy painting your stomper today. Very colourful stomper. Are the building Annihilation Barges because you think they're going to be good in 10th edition, or just because? A bit of both, really. I think vehicles might be quite good in 10th edition, or at least I think at the beginning of 10th edition there'll be lots of vehicles around. That may change over time. But the real reason is I finished painting my Ghost Arcs, and my Ghost Arcs are in a box where 2 Annihilation Barges join them. And I had 2 Annihilation Barges still to paint, to build and paint. And as I had that sort of space in the box, I thought I might as well get these done. Plus, I thought I could get these done before 10th edition came out, because obviously I'm then going to move to Tyranids for a bit, build and paint the Tyranid set. So I didn't want to be bogged down with any sort of painting project, so I thought, yeah, I could get a couple of Annihilation Barges painted before 10th drops. So that's the reason, basically. A bit of both, I suppose. But yeah, I think tester barges could be quite good. Right. So the next question is from Morgan Marks, and he says, what about Necrons? What about Necrons made you enjoy them so much? I think it was the fact that they were very different. I love Terminator. The green rods really appealed to me because no other army had them. I liked the fact that at the time the army was pretty new, so it was a sort of cool new army with these cool aesthetics which looked like Terminators, and I really liked them for that. It's slightly weird because when I grew up, you know, some people like support the good guys and some people support the bad guys, you know. You watch Star Wars, you either like the Empire or you like the Jedi sort of thing. When I was growing up, I was always the goodie. You know, I was always Luke Skywalker. I was never Darth Vader. But in Warhammer 40k, I don't know. I'm not saying that Necrons are bad. They're not bad. They're good. But yeah, I like the Xenos side of 40k the most. And the Imperium of Man and all that stuff. I just no. Tyranid Invasion, like Necron Tomb Worlds. And that's what floats my boat. Did you already show that? Yeah, I shared my oops, I can speak. I shared my thoughts on Imatech already. Absolutely. Basically, long short is it's a bit disappointing. It's pretty average and it doesn't really bode very well. It's going to have to be cheap. New vehicles, sort of Borg cube in shape, but decent weapon options. Yes, actually, talking of that, I found out a fact about Borg cubes. I mean, you may know this already, but for some reason I didn't. But yeah, the Borg cubes are made from Warhammer 40k sprues. The actual model is the empty sprues all glued together into a cube, sprayed, and then painted. And a Borg cube is Warhammer 40k. I only just found that out. Well, I thought that was cool. And actually now when I look at a cube, I can see they are sprues, which I never saw before. Crazy. Necrons, you've got this, Nick. Thank you. Thank you very much. I did answer your question at the beginning of the stream. You're one of the first questions I answered. And yeah, I gave 3 answers, so you might want to watch that back at some point. Best way to tell is look at the data cards. If no image on the card, then it's a new sculpt. Okay, I'll bear that in mind. I will bear that in mind. Okay, this is taking longer than I thought it might. Especially now I've worked out that afterwards I've got to go over all of the black and touch it all up. We'll see. Well, just keep painting. Just keep painting, Nick, and you'll get there. You'll get there. Don't paint that one. You've already painted that one. Put that in the box. Lichguard or Praetorians in 9th. Well, if we're not having these dynasty rules anymore, then Praetorians could be the ones. And going back to my theory previously, where Games Workshop want to sell models, most people that have bought that kit haven't magnetised them like myself. They've built Lichguard, so most people are going to want to buy more kits and build them as Praetorians. So I think Praetorians will be maybe one of the go-to units in 10th edition. What brushes are you using? I'm using Winsor & Newton Series 7 currently painting with size 1, but yeah, I've got size 0, 000 and 2, and obviously this 1. I love the idea that laser beams could disintegrate. Besides, they got up again. Indeed. Oh, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the room of Games Workshop Star Trek lawyers as they argue who owns it. Who owns that? Heard they were made of model sprues. Guess they didn't want to say from where. Well, yeah, definitely not. I'm not sure that theory holds up, as I'm pretty sure the picture on the Death Leaper card was of the old sculpt. Interesting. Praetorians might have a deep strike. It seems like they will. It seems like they will, and that's going to be a big, a big change. Right, let's get back to these. Actually, I need to unplug my phone because it's 100%. Right. Okay, so we've got quite a few questions from somebody called Wandering Celt. But I think the answers might be quite quick. Let's get some paint on. Got to get these painted. First question is, can destroyers knit with their blades? No. There you go. That's a quick answer. Should flayed ones have moustaches to look more alive? No. If you don't know by now, I have quite a dry sense of humour. Would you like a Necron Titan? Yes. Not necessarily by Forge World though, because we all know what's happening with Forge World. But yeah, Necron Titan would be cool. I do have a spare set of Seraptic guns, the trans-dimensional, whatever they're called. I've got a set of those, and I have always been considering converting an Imperial Knight with one of those guns, making like a Necron Knight. At one point, any army could take a Knight. Not now though. But yeah, it'd be cool to have our own Titan, wouldn't it? Obviously, the heavy construct you could arguably say is a Titan. I know what you mean. Starting to take shape now, which is promising. His next question is, will Guilliman ally with the Silent King? I wouldn't have thought so. No, I don't think so. At one point I was going to ally my Necrons with Orcs. Back in the days when allies were like all the rage, I thought Necrons and Orcs would be a good combination, because you could have the Necrons standing back and shooting, because they were a shooty army when that was the time that allies come out. And then you could have the Orcs just charging forward, causing mayhem and getting into close combat. Anything they didn't kill in combats, what was left, the Necrons would just shoot away at. But those rules didn't last long, so it never happened. I'm glad it didn't happen. I don't need another army, I've got 6 already. His next question is, can Necrons skip? No. If there was going to be a Necron unit that could skip, it would probably be the Scorpec destroyers, because of how they move. They're very fast, aren't they? However, they have no hands. Their hands are guns, so they can't hold the rope. They can't even tie the rope around their weapon because they've got no hands to do that with. How do they do anything? What combination of relics and warlord traits would you like to see as enhancements? I think the Veil of Darkness, for sure. I would love to see the... Now, what's it called? I'm trying to think of the old name now. Nightmare Shroud? I'd like to see the Nightmare Shroud, which you can pop off. Like in the old days, basically, you pop it off at the beginning of the turn, and it gives you a whole army. Probably in 10th edition rules it would say your whole army gets stealth that turn. Obviously in the old days it used to be the night fight rules came on, or you can only target units which are within a certain range. No, that was Solar Pulse, that was. Solar Pulse, that was, yeah. Nightmare Shroud was different. I'd just like to have some of the old rules sort of still be there. So yeah, Veil of Darkness, obviously the Resurrection Orbs, well, hopefully they'll be part of the war gear more than relics and stuff. But it is what it is, you know. I can't change anything, do anything about it. And that's why I'm not too bothered really at the moment. I'm just going to wait for the rules to come out. What we get is what we get, so then I'll just work with what we've got. There's no good complaining, there's no good wishful thinking. You just have to deal with what you've got. Been here, done it before. I love the Winsor and Newton brushes, even the synthetic ones are good. Yep, I disagree. They can knit, but it's very angry knitting. I've been listening the Twice Dead King series, so I've got the itch to finally get all my flayed ones done again. Sweet. I haven't read it yet. Do you think we should have some factions that are more organic, or have organic parts? It would be pretty cool to have that. I quite like the idea of an army based around Avatar. You know, like much bigger, taller miniatures. I like the blue skin. I think an Avatar army would be pretty cool. You know, they've got all different creatures, so I can just imagine it. Obviously GW would not copy anything from anywhere. You know, they wouldn't rip off Terminator, they wouldn't rip off Starship Troopers and Aliens, but they might rip off Avatar. I just think that'd be a cool army. You know, models which are much bigger than what we've got, the bigger scale, you know, totally alien, flying creatures. Yeah, it'd be cool. Also, the strength of Battle Shock has got me very excited for the Psychomancer Flayed One combos. Yeah, I hope Battle Shock doesn't take over the game too much. It could get boring very quickly. Battle Shock test, Battle Shock test, Battle Shock test. I hope it's not like that. Really? Oh, you have got to get it. Honestly, they're easily the best Necron books. I've heard some really, really good things, and I do want to do it, or at least like listen to them. Some massive space dinosaurs. Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I think it'd be really cool. Right, so we've got one question left from Wandering Celt. He says, which Necron factions was most likely have a bob? And I replied to that and said, do you mean blob? And he's just replied, so let's have a look. Indeed, blob. Damn spell check. Okay. So which Necron faction would most likely have a blob? It's a tough one, isn't it? Because we're not really having factions in 10th, are we? But I mean, at the moment, it's got to be Zerican Dynasty, hasn't it? The Zerican Dynasty just works really well with like warrior hordes, Silvertide. I always wanted to play Novok warriors, but I never did. In Novok warriors, you could potentially have 3 attacks in close combat with them, but I never did it. Never did that combo. Didn't really play warriors that much. I had a few lists where that was centered around warriors, but when you're playing nasty orcs all the time, they don't really cut the mustard. This is like painting white, just layer after layer. Some massive, oh no, we did that one. Yeah, I've got them as audiobooks and they're 5 stars. Cool. Yeah, it's the type of thing probably listen to while you're doing hobby. Usually I'm just watching YouTube channels. Okay, so that's all the questions which I had on my YouTube community tab. So unless I get some extra questions in the chat, I'm going to move on. Get rid of these. I'll bin those. I've printed out 100 questions to ask friends. I have no idea what these questions are. I just printed them out on the computer at work quickly because I thought I'm going to need more questions for the amount of painting that I've got to do. So we'll run through some of these questions and answer them if I can. And if we don't get through them all, that's okay, because I'll continue to answer them in another stream. Well, I'm watching you whilst doing hobby. Cool. Well, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm hoping. It's just like friends, you know, doing hobby together, having a chat, and that's what it's all about, really. Getting some hobby done and just having some fun. And potentially you might get to know me a bit more, because obviously, you know, video, whilst you can get your personality over, it can be quite hard to do that. But in a live stream, you're just you, aren't you? You know. Novok Lichguard are the way. 60 attacks at strength 8, AP -4 and 2 damage. Yeah, Novok Lichguard. Very good. Right, am I going to move on to those Gauss things? No. No, let's get these tester guns done first. Just because I'm not looking forward to them because they're tiny. Let's do another layer, see how we get on. These are actually getting there. I reckon another maybe 2 layers and they're probably done. And of course they get quicker as well, because the bulk of the work is down now. It's just making the green look good. With 10 models in a unit, yeah. Okay, so let's find out what these questions are going to be like. 100 questions that you would ask a friend. I consider you all my friends, my YouTube friends. So let's see, question number 1. What's your hidden talent? Hidden talent? Well, my talents aren't hidden. I think I'm a fairly creative person, which obviously I think you could probably tell because I enjoy doing lots of hobby stuff. For those that don't know, I do play snooker, which is like a UK version of pool but on a much bigger table. I enjoy that. I'm reasonable at it. I'm, you know, like a decent club level. I'm not like a semi-pro or anything. But a lot of you know that, and it's about a hidden talent. I think my hidden talent is I've got quite a logical mind. I'm quite good at solving problems. So I would say that's a hidden talent, problem solving, which I get from my dad, because my dad was a very clever man. When I was young, if I had anything that was broken, like when I was really young, a broken toy, any toy that I broke, I'd go to my dad. He'd take it apart, he'd fix it using screws and elastic bands and bolts and whatever. And yeah, I think probably get it from him. Actually, I had a funny conversation with my mum yesterday. We were talking about how hot it was, and I said, "Oh, have you still got that fan in the bedroom?" Because they've got a fan on the ceiling. And she goes, "Yeah, I've still got it." And I said, "Well, that's been up there a long time." I said, "Aren't you scared that it might fall down?" And she said, "No, your dad fitted it." And I said, "Ah, okay, yeah, safe as houses." Because my dad was like really good at that sort of stuff. So yeah. Just like a little funny story reminded me. So yeah, it's cool. Obviously it's Father's Day in the UK coming up on Sunday, the day after my fiance's birthday. So I'm probably going to have a bit of a hangover that day. I'll tell you what, one more coat on that and I think that will be done. Question 2. What are 3 of your favourite dog names of all time? What sort of question is that? Dog names? Okay. Well, my dog, which I had when I was a kid, was called Prince. And whilst, yes, I am a huge Prince fan, this was way before I knew anything about Prince. I was very young when we got him. I think I was about 3. Yeah, I was about 3, and possibly even younger, because he died when I was about 18. So, I think he lived to about 16. Anyway, we had him a long time. So I'm going to say Prince because, you know, he's the only dog that I've had. My fiance wants to get a dog, and I think she's got a name selected for him already. Going to be called Guinness. So I'm going to stay on her good books and say Guinness as the dog's name. A dog's name, oh god. It's a tough one. I didn't think it'd be that tough. I'm just going to say Patch because I can't think of anything else. The next question, do you believe in reincarnation? I wanted to call my dog Guinness, but my wife wouldn't let me. We called her Karma instead. That's cool. That's cool. Do I believe in reincarnation? No, I don't. I believe that you do live on. You live on in other people, in their memories. But obviously as the generations go and their memories go, then you do eventually die. So I do believe that you live on a little longer in this life than maybe, but I don't believe that you get reincarnated personally. What is your dream car? I am not into cars. Cars don't really do it for me. Cars get me from A to B economically and reliably. That's what I want from a car. However, it'd be pretty cool to own a Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche. Anyone would do, but I'm going to go Ferrari. Yeah, Ferrari. Would new deployment maps for 10th be good, or are you expecting the same maps and new maps? I'm expecting the missions to be quite similar, just tweaked maybe slightly. Dogs are awesome. I wanted to call my dog Guinness. I know we've done that bit. You mean reanimation? Let me just check the question. No, it's definitely not reanimation. Who was the last person that made you cry and why? Ooh, this is an interesting one. I'm going to say my ex-wife, second ex-wife, was the last person that made me cry because she had an affair. Yeah, so that wasn't very nice. So I think that's the last person that's made me cry. So it's been quite a while since somebody actually made me cry. Interesting question. Something a bit more fun. What's your go-to ice cream flavour? I love ice cream. I don't go many days that I don't eat ice cream. I can tell you the flavour that I don't really like, but I will eat it. Chocolates. I'm not a huge fan of chocolate. I'm a bit the same with biscuits as well. Not normal biscuits with chocolate on the top. They're fine. Like digestives or hobnobs, that's fine. But biscuits like bourbons, where the actual biscuit itself is chocolate. I like chocolate, but it just doesn't work in a biscuit or an ice cream for me. I think my go-to one, my most favourite one, is Häagen-Dazs salted caramel. Beautiful, those little crunchy bits of caramel, so good. But I do like a good old vanilla ice cream, have to be said. Now when I was younger, Walls used to do an ice cream called Tutti Frutti. Had like bits of candy in it, and I used to love it, but they discontinued it ages ago, to my dismay. Has a Viennetta man called it now? Bourbons are the best biscuits. No, I just don't like them. Sorry. My favourite is digestive. Although I am trying to be a bit healthier, because biscuits are my vice. You know, whenever I have a coffee or whatever, I like to have biscuits. I'm trying to cut that down. When I do have a biscuit, I've been having the low-fat rich tea biscuits, which I don't particularly like, but at least it feels like I'm eating a biscuit. But I've just moved on to these new ones. They're called Morning Coffee. I found them in Home Bargains. They're like rich tea, but for coffee drinkers, and they are slightly nicer. So that's what I'm currently eating. Right, next question. What was your first impression of me? I can't answer that, can I? What's your favourite icebreaker question? Believe it or not, even though I do this YouTube channel, I'm actually quite a shy, reserved person. I'm more of a... When it comes to being in a conversation, especially with strangers, I'm more of a listener, I think. However, when I went to Portugal, my fiance had a relative who was married to a Canadian, and he was great at making conversation, like really good. Because I spoke to him and he was like really good. And then like the next day, I was like on the same table as him, and there were some other people there, and he made exactly the same conversation with his other people. So clearly, obviously, has like some set questions that he just uses, you know. And I'm thinking that's what I need, you know. I need to like think of some set questions, so when I meet new people, you know, I'm armed with some questions. So one of his questions were, I'm going to try to do it in the accent, but it won't be very good. Do you play any sports? That was one question. Talking about sports, I suppose that's always a good one, because everyone like has their favourite sports, or worst case scenario, it's like, no, I'm not into sports. So, oh right, well, you know, what are you into? You know, so it's quite a good like icebreaker question, maybe. And obviously he had other questions, but I always remember that one. I think mainly because of his accent. So like, you play any sports? Eat a mess, me. I do like eat a mess. That's more of a dessert though, isn't it, than ice cream? The Nutella Gelato is the winner for me. Hey, have 20. I have blasted weapons. Not quite sure what that is. Right. Next question. What are you passionate about? I'm passionate about Warhammer 40k. I'm passionate about snooker. I'm passionate about prints, and I'm passionate about my family. I enjoy my work, but I'm not passionate about it, I would say. I mean, I enjoy it. I've been doing the same job since I was 16, so quite a number of years. 30, what, coming up to 35 years. So I must enjoy it. Boxing or any other combat sport is a must for me. Can't live without my boxing. That's fair play, yeah. Right, let's do this side. I think my paint is starting to get, oh yeah, it's starting to get a bit thick, so let's get some water in there. Next question. What's something you hope will never change? I hope that I stay with my fiance from now until I die. Third time lucky and all that, but I just don't want to go through all that horrible, messy relationship breakup stuff again. So yeah, I hope that our relationship doesn't change, because we have a really good relationship. She's a lovely person, kind. She's never said a bad word about anyone in the 4 years that I've known her. So yeah, I hope that doesn't change. I've got a little orb there, which I think I need to do some more coats, because I only did one coat yesterday. I did more coats on those, so it was just that little orb at the front. Probably need to do it on this one. Angel Delight, but has to be butterscotch. Yeah, that's a dessert though, Rich. It's not ice cream, is it? Come on, get with the programme. Oh, that's right. Answer Pete. Nicholas. I have 6 of them in the cupboard. He has 2 believe in reincarnation. He looks at me across from the board. I am the reincarnation of... Does anyone else add a shot of cream to the top? I do like to have cream on my ice cream, if that's what we're talking about still. I'm one of those people, when I have a dessert, I have a tough time choosing between ice cream, cream and custard, because I love them all. And I have been known on occasion to have them all. It works. Trust me. So now I've got a nice thin paint. I'm literally just going to keep painting over the top and then let it dry, of course. We are getting there, which is cool. We can move on to those stupid Gauss guns. Right, next question If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, which food would you pick? This is a hard one because it does say food, so I'm assuming it's talking about one particular thing rather than like, would you eat like Indian food for the rest of your life, Chinese food, English food. It's like a particular item. If it was what type of food would you eat, I would say Italian, because I really like all the Italian options, like pizza, pasta. You know, I like all of those type of foods, but also quite like Mexican foods as well. However, eating that same thing for the rest of your life, that's a tough one. I think I'm going to go quite basic. Just imagining having the same food. I'm going to say noodles. Because you can vary noodles quite a bit, can't you? Depending on what you cook with them and how you cook them. So yeah, I'm going to say noodles. Right, let's get back to these. I think this will be the last coat. Yep, last coat. I think these are pretty much done anyway, but just going to give them this last coat just to make that green as solid as I can. Done. What's your best memory so far this year? Oh, that's a tough one. This year has gone so quick. So quick. I would say in January it was my mum's birthday and we went out for quite a large family meal. I mean, we normally go out for a family meal like on birthdays anyway, but this particular one we went out with a lot more of our relatives, so I saw like some aunties which I haven't seen for ages and some cousins which I haven't seen for a long time. All of my children were there and my mum. So I'd say that was probably quite a special memory for this year. It's just having everyone together. I'm going to say that. Oh, hang on a minute. I've highlighted this gun on those pieces, but I haven't done it on this one. Okay, that will need a smaller brush, so I'll have to do that in a minute. So let's get the final coat done on these. Hello Peter, how you doing? That's mad, but maybe you're living your best life. I do every Friday when I roll my dice. American because it's all of them. Haha, definitely. I think you're having a private conversation. I don't think there's anything to do with me. Excuse me. Right. Next question. How many things have you crossed off your bucket list? I don't have a bucket list. I don't have a 10-year plan. Sometimes I'll have like a yearly plan, but not really. many things have I crossed on my bucket list? None, because I don't have a bucket list. Don't have a bucket list. Right, these are looking pretty good, to be fair. So again, it's just going to be one final coat, just to make sure that it's finished off. This side here. I think Richard and Peter are talking about ice cream. Still. Question 14 out of 100. What words make you cringe whenever you hear them? I would say in it. In it, yeah. Not a fan of that word. Although I've noticed a word which has like really come into favour since lockdown. Like before lockdown, I'd never heard anyone speak this word ever. Now, everything is this word, and that word is unprecedented. Everything in the news is like, this is unprecedented. That's unprecedented. And I get quite annoyed by that word now because I've heard it so many times. Do you know what I mean? In it. I think it was Rishi Sunak that started that word, using that word. You know, when he's talking about furlough and stuff. These unprecedented times. Now, like, everyone is using it all the time. Just checking, and I've done everything. I have, so that one is done. That's them two done. Next question. Who has influenced you the most? I suppose my parents. They've been influencing me since I was born. So I suppose it's got to be my parents. Yeah. I would also say Prince as well, influencing me with his music. I would say that. Yeah, so my parents primarily, and then Prince. We have 11 people still watching. Thanks everyone. We've got 18 likes. How about that? Thanks everyone. If you are new to this channel, if this is the first time you've come to one of my videos or live streams, then hello, I am Nick, and this channel is all about Warhammer 40k. In particular, it's about Necrons, and I'm currently doing a charity raffle where I'm trying to raise money for the mental health crisis charity Mind. there is a link in the description where you can check out the raffle. It's £5 a ticket, and if you are unable to donate, then I would really appreciate a share of the raffle, because that would really help me out. I've currently sold 51 tickets, so that's £255, which is great, but I would love to get more money in the pot if I can for that charity, because it's a great charity. Right, so let's continue with these questions. What do you think the happiest colour is? The happiest colour? It's going to be a bright colour, isn't it? So I would say, I think, probably yellow. Because yellow, because the sun's yellow. The sun's happy. The sun makes a lot of people happy. So I'm going to say yellow. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the chat or in the comment box if you are watching afterwards. Richard is still talking about puddings. Are you hungry or something, Rich? I'm just doing some of the side pieces. I haven't quite got into the grooves on this one. I'm going to have to touch this section up anyway with black. And I've hardly got any paint left as well, so I'm going to have to get some more paint. Right. That is done. Tiny bit there. Done. Right. Okay, they're done. I need some more paint. I need to paint these here, and then for the green, the only thing that will be left is to wet blend these wires here to match the gun I've already painted. Our sun is a shade of turquoise. It just looks yellow because we are told it's yellow as kids, but actually it appears white most of the day, shifting to orange and red towards the horizon. Okay, I'm still going to stick to yellow though. I was watching, I can't remember what program it was. It might have even been something on Facebook actually, and there was like a teacher teaching some students, and they had two circles on the screen. One was blue and one was red. And he asked a question, which one of these circles is the biggest? And then he asked for everyone's opinion. So who thinks the blue one's biggest? You know, who thinks the red one's biggest? Who thinks they're the same? Most people thought they were the same. And then he said, well, I can tell you now, actually, the red one is bigger. And then he said, like, so hands up who can now see that the red one is bigger. And they all put their hands up. And he goes, actually, you're wrong. They are actually the same size. And his point was that you can be easily led by what someone says. So yeah, I've no idea why I said that. Oh yes, because of the sun colour we're talking about. But it's true, isn't it? You can easily be misled, and a lie can easily become the truth. You know, especially if when you're kids, you're growing up. If you're told, like you say, the sun is yellow, you believe it's yellow. And you tell your kids the sun's yellow. Who tells their kids the sun's yellow? And that's how it comes about. Right, let's have some more paint. What parts of your life would you say are perfect, just the way they are now? I would say my relationship with my fiancée is pretty perfect. We seem to be very happy, so that's good. I hope I haven't put too much water in there. We'll find out in a minute. What's your biggest regret? Do, do, do. Don't really have that many regrets. You can't change the past, so I don't tend to dwell on the past. I think the biggest regret probably would be my first two children with my first wife, whilst when we split up. My eldest was 3 and my son was like 8 months. And whilst I did get to see them a lot, you know, I saw them twice a week. They stayed over twice a week. It's still not quite the same as living with your children all the time, which obviously I was very, very pleased when I split up with my second wife that Necron girl wanted to stay with me, because I haven't missed out on that with her. But I just think it's a shame that I did miss out that with my first two children. So I suppose you could say that would be a bit of a regret, wouldn't it? I hope you're enjoying these questions. Definitely getting to know me, aren't you? Which celebrity do you wish you could be friends with? Do they have to be alive? I think Steve Davis from snooker. What a legend he is. It'd be pretty cool to be a celebrity. It'd be pretty cool to be a friend with him. I need a small brush. Prince, of course, if he was still alive. That would be pretty cool. Right, let's find out how watery this paint is. I think it's okay. If you could live in someone else's shoes for a day, who would you pick and why? I would love to live in a very good snooker player's shoes. I was going to say Ronnie O'Sullivan, but you know, someone who's like naturally gifted and absolutely amazing at snooker, I would like to experience being able to play that good, even if it's just for a day. Just like, how would that feel to be able to pretty much poss everything from anywhere? There's a lot of snooker players that can do that, so I'm not going to say a name, but just a really good snooker player. On a good day that he's playing, because obviously everyone has bad days, even the top players have a bad day, so I'd want to be one of the top players on a good day. Maybe on a day when they win the World Snooker Championship. Experience that at the Crucible, Sheffield. Right, let that dry and then we'll come back to that. What's your biggest stress right now? Biggest stress? I suppose it would be money, because, you know, cost of living, it's not easy at the moment, is it? So I suppose money, but I suppose, I mean, it doesn't really give me stress, but obviously I'm conscious of it. I suppose I'm going to have to say that the journey that I have to do, like with my daughter, who still goes to the school in the area that I used to live, so like on my days off I have to drive her to school, and that takes an hour, drive there, drive back, and then I have to drive another hour to pick her up from school. It's like 2 hours on my days off I'm just driving. I suppose you could say that's like slightly stressful. It's not really stressful. I mean, it's not a bad journey or anything. I can listen to my music while I'm in the car, etc. But I suppose it's like a little added stress of, oh, I've got to do that journey, you know. But yeah, I would say that. But she was happy stay at that school, so I made that commitment of sacrificing, you know, having to do that journey for her. So I'm not moaning about it, I'm just saying that's probably the biggest stress that I have at the moment. So I've done one coat on these, very rough yesterday. So now I need to start getting this green built up and neat. I'm going to do all the dots first and then go back and do the other bits. Do you read your horoscope? I don't go out of my way to read my horoscope, but if there is a magazine lying around, sometimes I might have a look. Like, I'm not a massive believer in horoscopes, but some of it's true. Some of it is true. There are certain people that I know that have certain horoscopes, like star signs. You know, their traits can be actually exactly what they are. Got a moth thing. Right, I need the base colour because I've got a slight error. Not from today, from yesterday. I bet in years to come you'll look back fondly to those journeys. Yeah, that's true. I'll miss them, won't I? You're absolutely right. That is true. When she's off uni and I don't see her anymore, I think, oh, I wish I had that journey with her again. As I said, it's not a problem, but it's just like something which I have to do, which, you know, it's that extra thing, isn't it? Right, let's do these ones. Let's have a look at the next question. What's your most embarrassing moment? Okay, so this is my most embarrassing moment. So when I was the assistant manager at my place of work, I went on an assistant manager training session. So all the assistant managers in my place of work all went to this event, and we were obviously learning, you know, how to be assistant manager effectively. So at the beginning, we all sat in this big table, and what we had to do is we had to talk to the person next to us, ask them some questions about themselves, and then we would go round the table and you'd have to basically like introduce the person next to you, like, you know, this is Beverly and she's been working here for like 20 years and blah blah blah, you know, that type of stuff. So anyway, they started right the way over there, and I was sort of sitting here almost near the end, so I was going round the table and I was like listening to everyone. I was thinking, right, I've got, like, what am I going to say, you know, like trying to work out what I was going to say. And the person next to me, he stood up. Well, no, he didn't stand up. He was still. You sit down and did it. He introduced the person to his right, and then it was my turn, and I froze. I can only assume it's stage fright. Like, nothing came out my mouth. I couldn't think of anything. My mind was blank, and I got embarrassed and I went red, and the redder I got, the more embarrassed I got, and I got really, I just could not say anything. And eventually I said, this is Beverly, she works at so-and-so branch, and that was it. And obviously everyone could see how embarrassed I was, how awkward it was, and they quickly moved on to the next person, who then introduced me. I've never been more embarrassed in my life. And I don't know what happened, but that's my most embarrassing moment. However, I did redeem myself. We did some tasks. One of the tasks where you had to go back to back. Then you had like a Lego piece. You both had this Lego piece, and one person had to build something and they had to explain what they were doing, so the other person behind them had to build what you're building as close as possible. So it's like, it was a communication task. Then in the afternoon, after lunch, we did a task where we had to break down into groups of 3, and we had to do like a presentation on a certain aspect of the work. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I've got to redeem myself here. So I said, I want to do the presentation. I stuck my hand up. I was like, got to try and redeem myself. You know, if I freeze again, there's like no way. So I stuck my hand up. I did the presentation. I did it well. I didn't freeze. Words came out my mouth, and the presentation went well, and I felt I'd redeemed myself. So I was very happy that I'd done that. I think if I hadn't done that, I would have been even more embarrassed than I was originally. And there you go. Now you know my truth. I'm going to sleep now. Have a good one. Yep, good night. Thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate it. I don't believe in star signs. Typical Scorpio. Star signs and horoscopes are purposely generic. As long as they apply half the time, they'll feel close. That's true. This scenario sounds like my type of nightmare. Oh, it was a nightmare, I tell you. It was an absolute nightmare. Stage fright, that's what it is, yeah? Stage fright. It was just the fact that my mind was blank. It's like my mind couldn't think of anything. And like my mouth was like open but like nothing coming out. It was a weird feeling. And I think I could have overcome it if I hadn't started to get embarrassed. Because then, you know, when you start to get embarrassed, you can feel yourself like flushing. And you think everyone can see me, I'm flushing. Oh my God, they know I'm embarrassed. And that makes you more embarrassed and more flushed. And then you just can't speak even more. Anyway, I don't want to relive that nightmare anymore. I'm trying to forget it. Alright, let's come back to this. Now let's do the second coat on this one and then that's done. So these are done, except for the blending. So that can go back. That can go back. Right, second coat here and then this can go back. I have no idea what time it is, I'm just painting because I just want to get this done. I think if I don't get the green done tonight, I'm probably not going to, definitely not finish these by the time my fiance comes home on Thursday. Okay, that's done. That can go in the box once it's dry. What time is it? 11:15. Wow. My God. Okay, just keep going, Nick. You've got 100 questions. Question 24. When you're in bed... Oh no, not when you're in bed. When you're in a bad mood, how do you deal with it? When I'm in a bad mood, how do I deal with it? Usually by watching something which I really enjoy, like whatever I'm watching at the time, you know, like an episode of Star Trek or something like that. Just switch off, I suppose, is my answer. When I'm in a bad mood, I like to switch off, do my own thing and chill out. Right, let's get this done. Come on, Nick. And these are very finicky bits, so quite hard for me to talk when I'm painting them, but I will try my best. Way too much paint. Next question. If your life had a theme song, what would it be? Necrons? My Necron theme tune? Necrons. Necrons. This is a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. But you are such a confident speaker now, Nick. I know, I suppose that's the good thing about YouTube, isn't it? I mean, when I first started YouTube, I did not speak. One of my first videos were titles. You know, I was doing battle reports with titles on. I never envisaged speaking. I didn't actually even go on camera with my face until I got to 2,000 subscribers, because, you know, I would just, it was my hands, that's all you saw. But I do have like friends and work colleagues that, you know, when I say, oh yeah, I'm going to go live tonight for YouTube, you know, it's like, wow, really? But yeah, I'll probably go like 3 hours, do some painting and having a chat. So they can't believe it. It's like, oh, I could never do that, you know. But you do get used to it. So I suppose the YouTube channel definitely has given me confidence. I remember when I went out on my, it wasn't the first date, it was like the third date with my fiance, and we went out for a meal, and someone came over to me and said, excuse me, are you Nick? I said, yeah. He said, IDICBeer? I said, yeah. He said, I follow on YouTube, big fan. Yeah. It was almost like I'd paid him to do it. Like, I think that impressed my fiance a bit. She won't admit it though. Okay, I'm going to call it now. I don't think I'm going to finish these by Thursday, because even after I've done this task, I've still got to wet blend those things, and then I've got to touch up all the black, and I've got the gold to paint, and I've got the bases to do. So I'm calling it now. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I'm going to be almost done, but I don't think I'll be finished. We'll see. You never know. You never know. Obviously I'm not going to compromise on quality. I mean, not that I'm painting like a really high standard or anything, but I'm painting to a particular standard to match the rest of my army, so it's got a certain quality that I've got to meet. What did you dream about last night? I don't recall having a dream last night. I'm sure I probably did, but I don't remember a dream. Do you have a favourite parent? No. And obviously my mum is still alive and my dad isn't. So I suppose in some ways that makes my mum my favourite, because it's the only one I've got. But obviously, you know, they're both equal. A funny question. Do you believe we would be better off if we didn't have social media? I think we'd definitely have a different life. And obviously I've lived in a time when there was no social media, no mobile phones. From a certain point of view it'd be better off, but I think from another point of view would be worse off. I mean, having the ability to contact and be in contact with people is fantastic, but on the other side of the coin, yeah, you see everyone looking down at their devices all the time. You think, oh dear, you know, like, get in the real world. Now, I am on my phone a lot, but there are certain times where I try to avoid it. You know, if I'm out for a meal or something, I don't look at my phone. Second coat down on that one gun. Are you still alive all out there? We've got 8 people watching. Thank you. Yes, good night. Haha. Yes, good night. Yeah, I need to go to sleep soon myself, but I really want to get these done. Come on then, keep going, Nick. How long do you think a couple should date before getting married? You're asking me? I think a reasonable amount of time. Probably around 2 or 3 years, I would say, before you get engaged. And then probably still another couple of years after, maybe. Because people change, don't they? So ideally you want to make 100% sure. Don't rush in. Don't be too young. But don't ask me for marital advice, because I've been married and divorced twice. And both times ended with my partner having an affair. If there were no social media, I wouldn't know anyone except my work people. That's the thing. And also, like dating, you know. I think it's easy to go on dates and stuff now, isn't it? It's just generally easier just to, you know, meet people. I do need to sleep at some point because I've got quite a long day tomorrow. Obviously I'm working, it's my 6th day in a row. And then in the evening I'm playing snooker. So it's going to be a long day. What's a song you know every word of? Oh, most of the Prince songs. Most of the Prince songs. That is 30 questions answered and the end of that page, so if I want to carry on answering questions I will have to turn the page over. If you are still awake in the chat and you have a question for me, ask me anything, literally. I'll try to answer it the best that I can. Get married immediately if she's rich. Embarrassing, but when an ABBA song comes on I usually know the words. My guilty pleasure song is Dancing Queen. I love that song. If I'm out and at a disco or a party and that song comes on, it's like straight to the dance floor. I don't know what it is, but it's that song. I just love it. ABBA are good though, aren't they? They've got some good songs. Quite clever what they were doing with this new show, where they're like digital, aren't they? Not 100% sure how it works. When my dad was alive, he went to see Frank Sinatra, a hologram of Frank Sinatra. So obviously that was early days. And no doubt that the quality of stuff these days is going to be a lot better, because that was probably about 20 years ago that my dad went to see Frank Sinatra. He bought a fridge magnet, which I own now, so it's on my fridge. It's like, it says Sinatra and it's got a hat on the side. Hey Nick, do you believe that 10th edition is a culmination of editions 7 to 9 when it comes to the rules just simplified? I think it is, and not only that, but I think it's got lots of stuff from previous editions as well. I mean, hopefully that's exactly what it is, like literally the best of the best. Hopefully, but the truth is, like, didn't they say that like 9th edition was the edition you've all dreamed of, the ultimate edition, and now it's all back again. This is the edition of all editions. You know, so on a serious note, it does seem like they have taken the best rules, the best way to implement the rules. They definitely seem to be learning. Although sometimes I read the rules and I still think that could have been written a lot better, which is really odd. Now this is the second coat on these, I'm going to need at least one more coat for sure. Even if it wasn't this late, I must admit I probably don't quite fit in the mood for wet blending, because that's a big task, and that needs like a fresh pair of eyes, a fresh concentration, level of concentration. Okay, right, we're getting there, so we can put that in the box because that's definitely been done. I'm going to do one more layer of these, and that will be those done, or at least one more layer. To be fair, I think I've got some touching up to do on there as well, and that needs working on, and then it's literally just a case of doing that wet blending on there. So depends how long it takes to wet blend those. It might not be as bad as I'm thinking. It's not massive amounts of blending. Get those done. I'll then go over with the black, touching in all the errors, and adding in a bit of black on that silver section, and then got some gold to do and a white mask. I'll take it back. Maybe I can finish it. Maybe. We should all go back to third. I didn't get to third. I'm still playing Rogue Trader Edition. Really? I never played it. Never played Rogue Trader. Right, here we go then. Third layer. Now this layer, the green's pretty solid. With this layer, I need to tidy. And this is going to take concentration. All this effort on a gun which goes underneath the vehicle that no one's even going to see or even know that I've magnetised it. Still, I know. That's a good thing about being on this stream tonight, is possibly without it, I mean I still would have painted, but I may not have painted quite as much as I have done, so it's helping me to motivate me to do more, which has to be good. Go to the outside bit on both sides. Actually 7th was the rule set I played the most, just because there was a gaming club where some great hobbyists played. What units do you believe will be the go-to units for Necrons or any other armies you play? So for Necrons, I think I have a feeling that Tesla Immortals and Tesla Tomb Blades are going to be good. I have a feeling that our Doomstalker and Triarch Stalkers are going to be good. And that's probably about it at the moment. In terms of other armies, I'll be honest with you, I haven't really looked much at like the Tyranid data cards and stuff. I know I've got a Tyranid army. I think Richard is going to be playing the Tyranids more than me. I was quite excited about maybe playing Tyranids again, but the truth is I think I'm just more excited about the models, you know, building and painting some different models. My Tyranids are fun to paint, so I think I'll probably end up just letting Richard play the Tyranids and I will play the Necrons. I might have one or two games, but I'm going to learn some rules at the beginning. I'd rather learn the Necron rules because, well, obviously, and also get some experience of playing them to help me share, you know, my sort of with tactical videos and stuff. I need to sort of play the models. I'm sure you want to see me play different units as well. So I'm thinking I'm going to concentrate more on Necrons. I think I'm going to turn that page over, answer a few more questions. I'm starting to get there with this now. Let's turn the page over. There's still 9 people watching, thank you very much. I'm sticking it out. Hopefully you're getting loads of hobby done as well. Do you believe in ghosts? No. No, I don't believe in ghosts. I do sometimes get scared about ghosts, but I don't believe in them. Obviously where I'm looking through this with a magnifying glass, it does tend to show up any errors maybe a bit more than if you're looking with your normal sort of eye. Let me get my original one, see how different it looks to that. Okay, see, I thought I was painting not very neat. I've just compared it to the one which I painted about 10 years ago. It's a lot neater. The one I've just painted now is a lot neater than this one I painted 10 years ago. it's a lot, not only neater, but it's a lot closer to the edges as well. It just looks, wow, I'm surprised how different it looks. That one, I mean, from a distance it looks fine, but this one is a lot neater. That's interesting. That is interesting. Okay, so that's that one. So now just do this next layer of this one. Do you think psychers are going to be weaker or stronger in 10th? I've got friends that aren't too happy about how they're shaping up rules wise. I think they might be slightly weaker, but I still think they'll be good. I'm glad they got rid of the psychic phase. It's gone back to the old days. You have like blessings, and where you can do it on your, you do it on your command phase, and then you've got such more shooting attacks. It just sort of makes more sense than having a whole phase to yourself. Which planet would you visit if you could go to any of them? I suppose it would have to be Mars, wouldn't it? That's most likely to be our second home. Maybe one day. Obviously, now in the house, I've only got these lights on. I've got a massive light behind me, this little ring light here, and I've got a ring light to my right. I've got the door open there, so all the midgies are coming in, flocking over to my light. Looks pretty good. Let's come back to this side. What's something you would do differently if you had the chance? Never used psychers, was always too scared by the POTW. Trying to think what that is. Powers of the Warp, is that? No, not Powers of the Warp. Oh, what's it called? When you roll a double one. What the hell is it called when you're a psycho and you roll a double one? Perils. Perils. I guess ghosts are a residue of human survival instincts. Quite possibly. What's the question? What's something you would do differently if you had a chance? I suppose that goes back to the do you have any regrets the question, doesn't it? I would paint my Gauss weapons differently. Much simpler paint scheme that was a much easier to replicate. That's what I would do differently. And if it wasn't the fact that I was just so gutted they got rid of green rods, I probably would have a much easier scheme. I could change my scheme. I could have a different scheme, but as I've got most of my miniatures painted like it, I don't know that I really want to do that. Do you know what I mean? It just might look a bit funny. If it's a new gun, then fair enough. It's like a totally different weapon. I'm glad I looked at my original one and seen that whilst this isn't like mega neat, but I thought it wasn't mega neat, it's a lot neater than my original one, so I'm happy with that. And I am going to call that quits. The green is almost done with the exception of blending these two wires. I'm going to do that in another painting session. So yeah, that is it. How's it going, Nick? It's going well, thank you, Chris. Love how honest your content is. Thank you very much. Just a hobby enthusiast being enthusiastic about his hobby. Great stuff, keep it up. Thanks so much, Chris, because that exactly is what I try to portray. It's just me. Basically, I'm just one of you. I'm just a hobbyist, doing my stuff at home, enjoying myself. I have like a normal life, and I enjoy 40k. So I'm great that comes across like that. No, thank you, Chris. So that's it for today. Tomorrow there will not be a live stream because I am out. Yeah, I won't be going live. I just had a little sneaky thoughts. If I get home early enough from snooker, I could go live for an hour. I could go live tomorrow night after snooker and wet blend these. That might happen, so I'm not going to rule that out. We'll see what time I get home from snooker. But I'll be definitely going live sometime on Wednesday, so I will see you there. Thanks so much everyone for joining me for this live painting session. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.